Recording in progress.
Planning Commission meeting of November 17th, 2021 will come to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The secretary will call roll, please.
Commissioner Hodge.
Here.
Commissioner Rice.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Tolson.
Here.
Chairperson Mann.
Here. May I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Go ahead.
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
A motion was made by Vice Chair Tolson and a second by Commissioner Gray. Unless there's any objections, the agenda stands approved. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Motion was made by Commissioner Hodge. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rice. Unless there are any objections, the minutes stand approved. The secretary will read the declaration of conflict.
If any member of the Planning Commission may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare at this time.
Are there any declarations of conflict? Hearing none. Public statements. This is the time allotted for public statements or comments on all items other than public hearing items. Due to the closure of the City Council chambers to the public in compliance with provisions of Governor's Executive Order N-2920, public statements will be accommodated via Zoom. Did we receive any requests from any individual who would like to make a public statement?
Chairman, at this point, if there's any people on Zoom who would like to make a public statement, they shall raise their hands on their screen on items not on the agenda.
Thank you.
We do have one speaker.
Okay, let's bring them on.
Hello?
Hi there. May I have your name, please?
Yeah, my name's Mike. Can you hear me okay? I've
Mike,
never
we
done
can.
this before.
Mike, we can hear you fine. This is on an item that's not on the agenda, correct?
I'm not sure. I'm a little confused. I'm participating to voice my objection to a development that's going to happen on Ralston Avenue. Am I a little premature here, or I'm a little confused?
You're a little premature here. That's going to come up under item 10 1A1. So go ahead and hang out. We'll give a call back when it's time for you to talk about that item. Okay, sir?
I know you can't predict how this meeting is going to go necessarily, but any ballpark, how long that might be?
Oh, realistically, 20 minutes? What do you think?
20 minutes?
Well,
Okay.
assuming we have nothing with consent. That should go quick. Okay, make it about 10
Okay.
minutes.
All right. Thank you.
Don't wander far. Thank you. Okay. Assuming no other individuals on Zoom for public statements.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Correspondence. Is there any correspondence from the Deputy Director, City Planner?
No correspondence tonight.
Okay. Consent calendar. May I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar? Actually, there are two items on consent. Does anybody have any questions about the consent items?
Yeah,
Okay, Commissioner Gray, by all means, please.
I don't think I got. Yes, I did. Take that back. Never mind.
So you have no questions?
Nope.
Okay, I got a question. Director Gibson, when's my term up as chair?
So the nomination of the new chairman will occur first meeting in January
Okay,
2022,
got it. Okay,
which looks like it'll be January 5th under this proposed schedule.
okay,
If there's a meeting of that date, otherwise, we believe there's a January 19th meeting for sure.
okay. For my question on the consent is for the calendar, the agenda meetings. I will actually be out of town, missing both April 20th and May 4th, and the alternative date for April 20th to the 27th, I'll be out of town. The alternative date for May 4th is May 11th. I don't get back until May 12th. So I will be absent for both of those meetings as we stand. Changing the dates isn't going to help because the alternative dates are also when I'll be out of town.
Okay, that makes
Just an item of note.
sense.
Other than that, anybody else have any questions on consent? Okay, I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gray. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Tolson. Unless there's any objections, the consent calendar stands approved. Continued business, nothing. Oh no, continued business, sorry. We just talked about that one. Continued business, public hearings. Okay, this is a time and place set forth for a public hearing on the consideration of GPA-106/Z-748/TT6031/PD-S-1071 and the project's mitigated negative declaration and monitoring plan. Are there any ex parte communications to report? May I have an oral report on this matter by staff?
Chairman and members of the commission, our associate planner, Cesar Hernandez, will provide the presentation. And if you could just verify that your screen is being shared, then we'll move forward.
Commissioner Gray, can you see the screen?
Nope. Wait, nope.
Oh, there we go.
If you could share screen one.
Oh, screen one, and then I can move this over like this. And move this over. And then I can go from the beginning.
I now see it shared.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you. Good evening. The applicant, Dennis Hunter, requests approval of a general plan amendment to change the general plan land use designation of a 1.24 acre portion of the 1.44 acre project site from very low density residential to medium density residential. A zone change to change the zoning map of a 1.24 acre portion of the project site from residential very low density with an animal overlay district to residential medium density. A tentative tract map to subdivide the 1.44 acre project site into 6 parcels, a planned development permit to construct 6 single-family dwelling units, and adopt the project's mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring plan. The Planning Commission's action today, or this evening, would involve making a recommendation to the City Council, who would then make the final decision on the project. The project site is shown here. The site fronts Ralston Avenue and is located between Leeds Street and Industrial Street, approximately 300 feet north of Ralston Avenue, Alley Avenue intersection. There are detached single-family residences to the west and north. The adjacent lot to the east is undeveloped and currently used for outdoor storage. Beyond the site to the east are single-family residences at Jared Court and multifamily units fronting Alley Avenue. There is a commercial retail center located south at Alley Avenue. The site currently takes access from Ralston Avenue, as shown in the photo. The site consists of 2 parcels. One lot is 0.2 acres with land use designation of medium density residential, and the second lot is 1.24 with the land use designation of very low density residential. The request includes amending the general plan land use designation of the 1.24 acre site from very low density residential to medium density residential. The 1.44 acre site would have a density of 4.2 units per acre. And this is consistent with the medium density residential land use designation, which allows for a density of 3.6 to 5.0 units per acre. The request also includes a zone change and to change the zoning designation of the 1.24 acre site from residential very low density with an animal overlay district to residential medium density. As shown, the subject parcel is surrounded to the north and west by RM zoning and shows the boundary of the existing and proposed zoning designations for the 1.24 acre parcel and the adjacent 0.2 acre parcel that fronts Ralston. The 0.2 acre parcel is already zoned RM. The tentative tract map. Proposed lot sizes range from 8,147 square feet to 13,308 square feet. There will be a 30-foot wide private driveway that will provide reciprocal access to parcels numbers 5 and 6 along the easterly property line. As you see, each parcel will include a single-family dwelling unit. Approval of the tract map application includes a condition to submit a maintenance agreement between lots 5 and 6 for maintenance of the private driveway and the landscaping, as well as the proposed detention facilities located on each parcel. The site also includes an existing 10-foot wide drainage easement located along the northerly property line to serve the adjacent property. In the conceptual landscape plan, you can see the proposed landscaping along the private driveway. As an optional standard, the applicant will provide and include front yard landscaping for each unit. 4 residences will be located along Ralston, and 2 residences will be located along the larger parcels along the easterly property line. This would provide more gradual increase in density so that the parcels closest to Ralston would resemble the existing residences and the larger parcels more closely resemble the developments along Jared Court to the east. The project will be designed to include a 6-foot-high block, CMU-high block wall along the perimeter of the site, and the units along Ralston would include varied setbacks between 20 and 25 feet from the front property line. The proposed building configurations would not substantially affect residential properties abutting the site or the surrounding areas. All 6 houses have similar floor plans. Each unit will have approximately 2,080 square feet of living space plus a attached 444 square foot 2-car garage and entry porch. And the floor plans include 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. The building architecture is typified as Mediterranean-style home. The front elevations will include stone veneer underneath the windows and doors, and will have a window pane at the top. Wood trim will surround the windows, doors, and garage doors. Shutters are proposed at the windows on the front elevations. The main entry door will be recessed and have covered porched area. The building elevations, include horizontal and vertical articulation to provide a building rhythm. As here as you see, French vanilla stucco color will be applied to units 3 and 5. And please note that the project has been conditioned, in addition to the front elevation, that the applicant must apply the same exterior treatments to the side and rear elevations, providing an architectural balance for the entire dwelling unit. With regard to the zone change, the proposed RM zone is a compatible zoning district with the general plan land use designation of medium density. The proposed lots meet the minimum lot size and width requirements of the RM zone. The project density of 4.1 units per acre meets the required density of the zone and general plan designation of 3.6 to 5.0. And the tentative tract map creates 6 parcels for residential development. And the site is suitable for the proposed type and density of development, including lot configuration and access as laid out in the staff report findings. The staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend to the City Council approval of GPA 106, ZS 748, TT 6031, PDS 1071, and adopt the project's mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring plan. This concludes my presentation, and staff is available for questions.
Do any commissioners have any questions of staff? Please, Commissioner Rice.
Mr. Hernandez, I have just a couple questions here, a few questions here. The first one is, could you explain optional standard 2C, which has to do with the Title 24 requirement, and how the Boral concrete tiles, roofing tiles figure into that?
Right. So for residential projects, we have mandatory standards and they have the optionals. In this case, the applicant chose the energy conserving element. In this case, they have, they're going to include in design concrete tiles, which they, according to building safety, are the Boral. So these are deemed by building and safety standards energy conserving, right? And they do or fall under Title 24 as stipulated in our table.
Okay, so this would be in place of putting in photovoltaic solar panels.
Photovoltaic is optional as well.
Yeah.
So there's various types. They just so happen to choose the concrete tiles.
Okay. The second question I have is, since I didn't see it, and maybe I just missed it, but I saw how Neighborhood Council number 2 voted, but I didn't see any comments from Neighborhood Council number 2. Do we know what they discussed?
If I recall, the consensus was that the folks in the Ralston area for that neighborhood council were recommending multifamily, if I recall. And I think that was just the major concern, if anything.
Okay. And my last question for you at the moment is, it is the elevation view that has the fireplace on it. It was one of the side views. It would be the north elevation on House A in our packet. It would be the rear elevation, but looking at it from the right hand looking to the left. Or the other side of the side elevation, basically.
Right.
It's hard to see the articulation very well. That's why I'm asking, so. So besides the windows and the colors, I was just wondering if I'm missing something. There we go.
Yeah, so here are the
So
alternatives.
that is, okay, so there is articulation right there, right?
Right.
Okay.
And that would be the east elevation on.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Commissioner Hodge, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Real quickly, I'd like to get some clarity on just exactly what it is in toto we're making recommendation to the council on tonight. There's the zone change, I get that. Obviously, the general plan, and what else? What else are we evaluating, and what are you recommending we approve?
So we have the general plan amendment for the 1.24 acre parcel. That's the larger one, right? And the zone change for the larger parcel to match the RM density. That's the adjacent parcel, right? The smaller one. Then there's a track map. The tentative track map, of course, will also be recommended for approval at council.
All right, help me out now. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, and I want me to be on the same page with everybody else, is what I'm saying. So when we approve the tentative track map that you just referred to, does that mean the location of the homes and the configuration of the design?
Correct.
Okay, what else?
Plan development permit.
Okay, and what does that do?
The plan development permit will, anytime there's a request for 2 or more units per our development code, requires a plan development permit for residential units. So the plan development permit is going to be accompanied by the map, or vice versa in this case, to allow the 6 units. And with the plan development permit, we look at our design guidelines, residential guidelines, so on and so forth, that they're going to be applied and conditioned as we have in our findings as well.
Okay, so included within that, you just said if for compliance with the design guidelines, correct?
Correct.
What about anything else, such as colors for the units?
Correct.
Because I don't see anything in here talking about colors.
Right. So residential guidelines ask, say in this case, for earth tones, something of that nature, and they're going with the Mediterranean tile type motif. So they all have to be somewhat relative in that case, right?
Well, what I'm suggesting is that, I mean, I get that, and I can live with it. But if I'm being asked to approve, in essence, the colors, I mean, you just showed a color up on the screening that it was sort of green that was startling, to say the least. And so that's why I'm asking the question specific to this. Are we going to have that kind of granularity in the recommendations to the council?
We can have a condition, if so, to have the applicant
Not use that color?
right, to reassess their color choice. And
All right, then I'd like to see it. I'd like to know what it is before I stick my thumb on it.
Right.
I'd like to see it. And then some of these materials that are being used, I'm looking at the renderings, and I'm confused by the garage, to say the least, and the wainscoting for Mediterranean. I'm not really sure. I mean, these kinds of things that are included within the recommendation to us to recommend to the council, and I'm lost a little bit, as to whether or not this information is here.
so
I'll let that go for now, and hopefully.
sure.
the
Now,
applicant
and
can clear
those are
some-
salient points, Commissioner. So staff works with the applicant. We do our best, and we look at our guidelines. We have a palette of of choices in which they would have to, say, choose from without designing it for them. However, we allow them the freedom to kind of, have some semblance in their choice, of course, that it looks more appealing. With having said that, there are the minimum standards that we ask for, and then we kind of do the back and forth with the applicant and say, hey, you need to go back and work on this. And we have a few times with the applicant, and as a result, this is where we've come to.
Okay.
Um,
It's just, I mean, I really appreciate you, taking the time to explain this, so carefully. And I guess we'll let the applicant really address it, and I'll thank you.
So Commissioner Hodge, if I may add, the rendering that was provided to us is not very representative of the materials that they're proposing, because the veneer stone that they're proposing has more character to it than what's shown on the elevation. But the one thing we're asking them is to wrap the building in all four sides of the elevation with the same treatment of stone material to help bring the buildings to compliance with our design guidelines. And
Okay.
touching back to your question regarding the map is going to have basically the lot sizes and the actual plotting of the house and the design and everything of the houses is actually part of the PD. And since it's a recommendation to council, you can, like Mr. Hernandez said, you can also add a condition to revise the colors or materials or any other details that you wanted to have included for the council to consider.
I've only been doing this for 9 years, and I didn't realize there was something in the sleeve in the very rear. Commissioner Rice just showed me, so I call myself on that one, and oops, sorry. Thank you very much.
The material board is actually the smaller sheet.
Yeah, I
on
understand.
your
I understand.
attachment. You should have the colored
Yeah, I understand.
version of the material.
It's in here. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Any other commissioners have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I heard that there was the front yards would be installed, and then I heard something about maintenance, and I didn't see. Is there going to be CC&Rs? Is there going to be certain parts of the properties that are going to be maintained by some sort of a CC&R, or is that something that I just heard incorrectly?
Yeah, Caesar, if you can go to the maintenance.
Right.
Differentiate between the maintenance of the common driveway versus the maintenance of the front yards to be homeowner maintained, but the common driveway.
Right, so there's some moving parts on this, right? So I'm using the tentative track map to kind of explain, because it kind of points things out. So if you see the private driveway, it has the common area all the way up till you get to the fronts of parcels 5 and 6. And then you see that hammerhead. And the hammerhead has been as a fire turnaround required and approved by VC Fire and Public Works. There's landscaping, and I'll go to this slide.
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Right, so if you see this alongside it, this here would be maintained, what we're calling a maintenance agreement, right? And then, in addition to that, if you could see it, there's some, I guess we'll call it detention areas. And this is for stormwater runoff here. Each of these parcels include those. And this is a design agreed upon between the applicant and Public Works. So those have to be privately maintained amongst themselves. So in the maintenance agreement, this is all going to be itemized and per condition of approval agreed upon per the project, the applicant.
So then again, back to the maintenance portion, that if those things have to be maintained, is that then the homeowners that will be maintaining those, their agreement when they,
Correct.
so if they are not properly maintained, then the city goes after the homeowners, not any HOA or CC&Rs.
You're right, the homeowners will have to be responsible for it. Since these are private appurtenances,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions or any other questions or any other commissioners? Okay, I have a couple. one of the things I read, it's going to have wood trim, not going to be stucco wrapped. It's actually going to be just raw exposed wood, whether it's painted, treated, or whatnot, but it's actual wood and not stucco.
I believe it's going to include wood trim as well.
Okay.
Right. So there's elements in it as well.
And it
I thought we had-
may be wood-like, it may be faux wood, but it's wood in appearance. It could be hardy board type.
I just thought we had something that we didn't have any exposed wood. Am I misunderstanding something? Or that's just in fire areas which is like almost all of CME these days, no exposed wood, new construction.
I'm not exactly sure on the wood trim around windows, but it could be the hardy board, which is fire-resistant wood-like material.
Okay. It just, obviously, with wood comes maintenance, comes other issues, so just not a huge fan, but that's okay.
So Principal Planner, Ms. Pedroso, have anything to add on that?
I'm just concerned about the wood trim around the windows with decay over the years.
Yeah, I mean, the wood will require more maintenance. Nevertheless, that could be part of the, they have to maintain their materials and the look of the house. But then just the other options, like Mr. Gibson said, you have hardy plank, you have basically the faux wood that can give that look. And but if the commission would like to recommend, to have a stucco trim, that's something that we can add in the condition as well.
Personally, I'd like to see without wood, whether they come up with, again, Trex materials, faux wood, or some kind of stucco wrapped foam board, something other than wood. But I'll leave it up to the rest of the commissioners if they have a thought about that one. The common driveway, I'm assuming that's concrete, not asphalt?
Yeah.
It's going to have to be concrete
it'll have
for
to
fire
be
department.
Right.
Okay. And the maintenance of those trees, that's a road maintenance agreement or a common area maintenance for those two households, I think it was 5 and 6,
Correct.
okay? The 10-foot drainage easement on the left-hand side, if you can bring that drawing or that photo back up, or maybe that wasn't even in the photo.
Right.
Is that thing actually hitting the house in the drawing?
Good question.
The 10-foot wide drainage easement looks like it's right next to and/or hitting the house. I'm assuming, is there some kind of space or gap between those two areas, or?
Right. So I'll refer that question to Brent Steamer, Public Works. Could explain that.
Thank you, Brent.
Seamer, Public Works, Deputy Public Works Director. That easement is just for a private service to the subdivision that was done before, so it's essentially a sewer drainage easement that goes through there. The easement does touch the corner, 10-foot wide, but it's generally going to be something that someone would be maintaining with a shovel, not a backhoe or something like that. So its proximity to the house I don't see as a particular problem, but it does mean that the 10-foot means that someone's going to, be able to try to not put in trees and such in there to attack the sewer line there. But that's what that easement is for, to serve the adjacent property that is kind of landlocked back there.
I'm assuming that where it says the sewer line, it's underground, whatever, be 5, 10, 15, 20 feet down?
Probably like 4 feet,
Okay.
relatively shallower, so it's easier to get to and maintain if they ever needed to in the future.
Okay, you might as well stay there for a quick second. I'm not sure who's going to answer this question. The retention or detention basins that are on each of the properties, are those just a swell or are those actually a structure of some kind?
I'm not exactly remembering how they want to do that, but each property owner was going to have to collect up its drainage at those points. They'll detain it in the yard area and probably have a drain through the curb. So they're relatively small, probably buried pipes and such for each property. We were trying to come up with one location, but with the property, the shape of it,
Right.
they'd have to just give up so many different places to try to put these. It was just easier to put for each property. So we've done it before. It's more difficult for the city to track because now I have 6 property owners instead of 1 to make sure they're maintaining it properly. But that's part of the maintenance agreement. And then we have another agreement that's on top of that informs all future property owners of what they need, what's there, what they need to inspect and such. And sometimes we modify these systems by the time we put things in place, depending on how they're going to grade their front yards and do something. So, but in one way or another, there's some sort of a plenum or a pipe or something that'll be in each one of these yards to store stormwater and release it slowly.
And assuming the developer is part of, he's developing the front lawn, or front landscaping, he's gonna put those into place, and there's something, whether it be in the CCNR's rules regs, something that goes with the property, that the homeowner can't change the front landscaping and get rid of that, correct?
Correct, there'll be a deed restriction that
Perfect.
identifies that.
Okay? Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Can I ask another question on that topic?
Go ahead, Commissioner Gray, please.
Because I know of somebody that has, I guess, in the valley, this is where the water collected from your roof is then going in, and it's then not just draining straight into the street. Is that correct?
Yes, the city of Simi Valley long ago determined to maintain its stormwater drainage at a low level, basically what would fit in your curb. And so every development that increases your impervious area, your roof and the driveways, that water needs to be collected, slowed down, and released at a slow rate. So every single development has been doing this for the last 30 years.
Really interesting. Okay. And then just out of curiosity, is that how does the city, how many of these, I mean, you're saying in the last 30 years, so how does the city maintain or ensure that these aren't removed without, like if it's underground, a physical inspection?
So what we do is send out letters once a year to property owners, and the letter requests that they conduct an inspection of their device, ensure that it's still there, that it's still operating. We have some where it's just a swale in the front yard that ponds up and then drains out slowly, so we make sure they don't put a palm tree there or decide it's marshy and the mower keeps bogging down. So they get letters each year, and then we collect those reports and maintain them. The other part of the drainage is also water quality. So the state permit also requires that we make sure they're maintaining systems on site. There's permeable pavers that are part of these driveways that allow a lot of the water to drain into the soils. That also helps reduce some of our stormwater impacts. Those also have to be maintained properly. There'll be directions on how they need to keep it cleaned. You actually have to vacuum a permeable paver because you can't just wash it down. It'll push sand into it and it plugs it up. So there's definitely a housekeeping that goes along with this, and each property owner is aware of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other commissioners have any other questions?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Hodge, you're on my list. My apologies.
Hey, Commissioner Tolson, do you have any questions? I mean, you should go first.
I was just going to say, can we confirm that all 6 units are going to look identical? Yeah. Are all 6 units going to look identical to each other?
No, they're going to have, sorry? Yeah, no, they're going to have different configurations. So our code asks for varied setbacks, also to have different floor plans. So that being the case, they are not supposed to, right?
Perfect.
There are basically two models, two different models that are very similar in their mirrors of floor plans, and then you have the different finishes and different colors. But technically, it's two basic models.
All 6 stucco colors will be the same or different?
No,
Yeah.
they're required to have different colors in this case. So the applicant has offered different colors, like Commissioner Hodge has made note, though, maybe they can go back and try with a different color.
Perfect. Thank you. That was it for me.
Okay, Commissioner Hodge?
Yes, thank you. I'm looking at conditions on page 43, D6 and D8. It says the applicant must advise, or I assume that the seller must, applicant must advise the property owners that parking on private driveways and fire department turnarounds is prohibited. Is that the proper way to identify the instruction, the condition that the applicant must advise. The applicant may sell the property. You know, I think it's the property owner or whoever's selling these homes, or that the property, you know, that purchasers of the homes must be advised in advance. I guess that would be part of there's CCNRs in this, correct? No, there is no CCNRs. There's just the agreement, maintenance agreement. So I'm wondering about whether or not that's adequately drawn in terms of a condition. And then looking at D8, applicant must submit 2 site plans to the Ventura County Fire for approval of the location of fire lanes. Now, the fire lane is the driveway, correct?
Correct.
Okay, is it going to be marked fire lane? Or is it just with signs that
You
says
mean like
this
a
is a
red
fire
group?
lane?
Like have it red group?
Well, I assume that, I mean, there's going to have to be identified in some manner, and then it goes on to say all fire lanes must be posted, no parking, fire lane towaway. So my other question was sort of, you know, if somebody parks there, and it's inevitable that somebody might, who actually does the towing?
Great
This is
question.
There's a phone number on there, I'll bet, and you gotta call it. Who actually does that towing?
These are coordinated between the fire department and police department. So these are fire department conditions, and it's their red zone. So my understanding, police department will respond to parking enforcement in certain cases. So it's generally police department, they have their procedures on when and when not to citation or require towing.
So the situation will basically arise as one neighbor will turn the other neighbor in for putting the basketball hoop up or something like that. The question as far as how will they know, the map will be recorded with an easement for emergency governmental access that the city accepts. So the 2 parcels in front and the 2s that have the easement across it, their title will call out their parcel. It will also identify an easement for emergency purposes, so that will help notify them. There'll be a copy of the map, usually with a title report, so they'll be on notice that that easement for emergency services
Sure,
is
and
there.
there's going to be a sign there that says, no parking, fire lane. So I go and I park there because I don't care about, these such things, and I want to walk somewhere, and somebody says, hey, you're not supposed to, to park there, and I blow them off, and the landowner properly and affirmatively decides they're going to call the number that's posted on the, usually there's numbers posted on these signs that say towaway zone. Who does that person call? Where's
Usually the
phone?
parking enforcement phone numbers on those signs.
It's to the city's parking enforcement. And then the parking enforcement has the authority to come out and direct a tow.
Correct.
Okay, good. That's what I'm getting at. In the city of Los Angeles, you have there's 16 OPGs, official police garages, and it's a pretty simple thing. They come out and they take your car, and it's adios. And I just never seen one in the city of Simi Valley, and I was curious, who had that and who did it. We have a contract with one of the local towing agencies.
I can't speak for the police department. From experience, there's different levels of parking enforcement, whether an officer goes out to it or if it's the parking enforcement team, which is a different set of people depending on the nature of the violation.
And one last question before I'm done. The maintenance of the landscaping along the driveway/fire lane. Any estimate of what that's going to cost? I mean, it's my understanding of the way I heard it was the parcels 5 and 6 will sign agreements to maintain that. So they're responsible for keeping that area, landscaping in good shape. It's probably some sort of an agreement, within a certain condition, all the way out to the street. Is that correct?
Yeah, the city approves flag lots almost annually. We've got various 4-lot subdivisions, which may not come to this commission directly, but there are lots of cases where we have flag lots and maintaining that long, lengthy driveway to the back. It's similar to the situation occurs, and it's not unusual for a homeowner to maintain half of that strip and the other owner maintain the other half, where they share the maintenance through their irrigation systems.
So they'll be maintaining the condition of the concrete as well as the condition of the landscaping.
I believe the maintenance agreement will also include the maintenance of the pavement.
Okay. See, I like when the applicant speaks, I'd like to, to hear if there are any other options. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, why doesn't parcel 3 and parcel 2 take care of that portion that's adjacent to their parcels, and parcel 5 and 6 take care of the portions adjacent to their parcels, split it up 4 ways instead of 2, and not burden 5 and 6 with the entire cost. And, the circumstance where the owner or the resident of parcel 2 maybe decides to play a little football out in the front yard, messes up the landscaping, and now parcel 5's got to continue to pay to have that maintained. It's just one of those problems that are necessarily attendant to flag lots. And I'd just like to hear some sort of thought on that.
Yeah, staff would be open to those considerations. So it's not a,
Okay.
we'd be open to either option.
I got a quick question then. Is there an actual block wall or something that separates parcel 2 and parcel 3 from the driveway? I'm assuming that parcel 3 and parcel 2, that red line is some kind of 6-foot-high block wall or something similar to that, or not? Does anybody have any idea? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that as well. This big strip, it seems as though it's kind of like corner lots. Where I live, this happens all the time, where it's like you've got that side strip that nobody wants to really deal with because it doesn't really belong to them. And so you've got some people that take really nice care of those spots and others that it's just weeds. And unless something, again, this is considered a private drive. And so I like where Commissioner Hodge was going with this, is the maintenance on this is who's responsible. In addition to the parking enforcement, it's considered a private property. It's a private drive. Again, I hear people saying things that happen when it's a private property that, sometimes the city will treat it as such. So if there's the basketball court or somebody's parking, they've got guests and they can't park in the driveway and they don't want to park on the street, and they just go, just park in that little spot. Code enforcement are they going to say, well, this is a private drive, it's not a street, or it's not on Rolston Avenue? And I do like the suggestion, I don't remember who just said that, of dividing it for parcel 2, parcel 3, parcel 5, and parcel 6. That again, what type of an agreement and how is the city going to actually enforce having something maintained, or is it just going to be basically a dispute amongst homeowners? First, I would like the issue of private drive. How does that, any code enforcement issue, how does the city deal with private driveways versus if it was blocking on a regular street, then I understand that the city responds differently or is not responding differently.
Well, thank you for your question, Commissioner Gray. So remember that this driveway landscaping and all that is going to be part of the maintenance agreement and is conditioned to be maintained. And that's maintained, in perpetuity, and it's going to be recorded onto the title of the properties. So if they are not following through with the maintenance of that common access and landscaping, then code compliance will tell them, come on and ask for a correction to be able to be maintained and be brought back to the approval that it was originally, the landscaping and the way it was done at the beginning. And should they not follow through with that, then there's other procedures that the city can go through code compliance and city attorney's office to make sure that gets done. So being a private driveway does not make it any difference as far as enforcement because they are being conditioned to maintain the property.
Okay, and where is that maintenance in this? What page? Because I was at 43 when Commissioner Hodge was.
You're looking at the fire department conditions. We're talking about the no parking for fire. The fire lane, which could be achieved in many different ways, whether the curb is painted red or there's signage provided and so on and so forth. That's the condition that the Commissioner Hodge was referring to. In regards to the walls, we did find the note that all the houses have basically a block wall surrounding the the property, so they will be separated from the access driveway and from lots 5 and 6.
Okay, thank you.
No, I was asking, where's the maintenance agreement? Is there a maintenance agreement in this document that we received?
No, you don't have a maintenance agreement. That will be done as
Got
part
it.
of the map.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hodge? Oh, I didn't clear you off my list.
I'm sorry, I should have pushed
Okay,
it.
you're cleared now.
Thank you.
Okay, any other commissioners have any other questions? Thank you for answering mine. Okay, we're going to open the public testimony portion of the hearing. I'm assuming the developer, applicant, would like to make a presentation. Mr. Hunter, the field is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Commissioner, and I'll go ahead and share my screen at this moment. I believe Mr. Hernandez needs to turn off sharing on possibly his computer.
We have just now.
Go ahead, Dennis.
All right, thank you. All right, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dennis Hunter. I'm the owner of Buckeye Surveying and Engineering. I'm the project civil engineer and land surveyor for the project, referred to as Ralston Meadows Estates. The property consists of 2 assessor's parcels that you can see at the lower left-hand corner of the first slide here.
Excuse me, 1 second, Mr. Hunter. You're not sharing the screen just yet, so let's take a quick look to see how we can give you permission.
All right.
Hello? Is somebody there?
Yes, but I'm assuming you're calling in to speak on the project?
No, this is Matt, and I've been up here since Mike called the first time, but I'm not on Zoom tonight. I mean, I'm on the phone. So may I have permission to speak? It's not a project issue, but I've been here since Secretary read the Declaration of Conflict minutes, conflicts.
Are you going to speak about the project in hand or just a general comment?
No, this is a general comment. And I've been here since item 7. I was here since item 5. And then Mike called in and was advised to call back, but I don't know. I don't know what happened to me. I fell through the cracks. I can wait until whenever you want me.
We're going to go ahead and have you wait until after this presentation, and then we're going to go back to public statements, because if you've been on since somehow we missed you under public statements, we'll certainly give you your time to talk.
No problem. Thank you. As long
Thank
as,
you.
yeah, I'll remember to circle. You'll circle back and I'll be here. Thanks.
Your name is?
I'm Matt, Matthew Daros.
Okay, Matt.
Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have Mr. Hunter back on?
Yes.
I'm here. Are you able to see my screen now?
If it says City of San Valley Planning Department proposed residential development, yes. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll move on to the next slide. Here's an aerial view identifying the location of tentative track 6031 as it relates to adjacent properties. To the north is parcel map number LD-S-666, which recorded about 2 years ago and created 3 lots, including an existing single-family residence on one, second lot that may be in the development stages now, and then another flag lot at the back of the property. To the east is Jared Court with some larger homes on larger lots due to the very low density. You have the multifamily development next to the park on Los Angeles Avenue, and some, I believe, 1970s era residential development that abuts on the west and to the northwest of the property. Again, here's an aerial view of the same location. Some of the public amenities that the project will be providing is there's an existing street light here at the northwest corner of the property that has overhead wiring. It's an old metal pole style. It'll be replaced with the current standard, which is the concrete pole, and it'll be underground wiring. In addition to replacing that existing light, there'll be 2 more lights added along the parkway down to the southwest corner. In addition, the existing wheelchair ramps at Industrial in Ralston, they'll be upgraded to the most current ADA standards as part of the project amenities. As Caesar pointed out earlier, the project is approximately 1.4 acres, and it consists of this narrow strip along Ralston Street, which was sort of a remainder parcel from when land was acquired by the city, or it may have been the county of Ventura at the time, for the right-of-way for Ralston Street. And then there's the 1.2 acre parcel to the east of that strip. And then this shows just the existing topography with the site draining southerly, slightly southwest down to the Arroyo Simi as topographic relief provides. Some of the questions that were brought up earlier pertain to the stormwater design. And in this case, the orangish crosshatch area is the roof outline for each of the 6 structures, which is impervious. And the purpose of the stormwater LID design is to collect and infiltrate to the maximum extent possible the runoff from those impervious areas. And the current selected design is a underground structure, and I'll show you an example on the next slide. So it's a soft bottom, like plastic structural corrugated material with a gravel base, and so it allows catch basins and underground piping to collect water from the downspouts and from the yard areas and drain it into this underground structure, which then allows as much percolation as possible to return to the groundwater. It also has a pumping system, so when the amount of inflow exceeds its storage capacity, there'll be an overflow drain that will provide 1 or 2 4-inch pipes out through the curb face to the street. And so the underground structure is sized based on the size of the tributary drainage area, which is basically confined to the size of the lots eventually. With regards to traffic, we did a traffic count back on January 23rd of 2019. The average daily trips on Ralston Avenue is 853 trips. The project trip generation from these 6 family homes will be 58 daily trips. And the peak hour is 2 in, 2 out for a total of 4 a.m. peak trips and 4 p.m. Peak trips. So this breaks down to about 6.4% increase in daily trips and a little over 5% increase in peak trips during the AM and PM period. So certainly the existing roadway system has the capacity to absorb that nominal traffic increase. The next slide here is a picture of the tentative map. A question was brought up regarding this cross-hashed area here that is the drainage and utility easement that was provided to serve lots in parcel map 666 here to the north. As I mentioned, the topography drains to the south-southwest, and therefore this large flag lot at the back of that parcel map won't drain to Lead Street. So when it's built through the building permit process, it'll have to comply with the LID requirements applicable in the building code, and they'll need a source of drainage relief to be able to outlet their LID treatment facilities to be able to drain to Ralston Street and eventually to the flood control channel that is at the back of the lots on the west side of Ralston. And so that's what this 10-foot easement is for. It's underground pipes. The sewer connection has already been made for the sewer lateral that will tie this back flag lot to the existing public sewer in Ralston Street. And so the setback from the corner of the building on lot 1 is 10.7 feet from this corner, property corner right here. So yeah, the easement doesn't extend into the footprint of the house. And I'd also like to point out that this concrete dotted hatch area around each of the buildings is the proposed over excavation and recompaction limits that will remove the existing 5 feet of earth below the proposed building footprints so that it can be removed and recompacted back to 90% or above density to provide enhanced structural support for the concrete foundation and slabs that will be built to support the homes. The next page on the tentative map shows cross sections through various locations on the site. And I just like to point out, again, some discussion has centered around this is you'll see the Proto 2 wall that will be used to not only surround the entire tract itself, but it will also be built as common property line walls between each of the lots. And its design will take into account some moderate amount of structural support for fill as a partial retaining wall up to 1 to 3 feet, and then with a block screen wall on top of that. And so that will allow for sort of it'll be a very subtle stepping of lots as you go from the north to the south to minimize grading as much as possible. But I just wanted to assure that the privacy fencing will be concrete blocks, and that the private driveway and fire lane will be separated from each of the lots that front on Ralston Street. Again, this was the third sheet of the tentative map that shows the feasibility of the site being able to connect to the existing public sewer system in Ralston, and that each lot will be provided a sewer lateral to connect to that existing sewer, including the flag lots to the back, and the elevations are such that they're able to provide an acceptable gradient on the private sewer laterals to be able to service those lots that are the furthest from the existing sewer. Here's an example of the another private driveway fire lane flag lot system elsewhere in Simi. I just point out that the difference will be that these concrete privacy walls will extend down to the front yard setback, and then drop down in height not to exceed, I believe it's 42 inches is the maximum height in the front yard setback. But as you can see, it's common practice already in the city of Simi Valley for the owners of these flag lots to maintain enhanced landscaping adjacent to the private driveway fire lanes. And again, you can see it, the stormwater low impact development design incorporated a gravel trench here to absorb stormwater runoff from these gutters. And it looks like this is probably impervious concrete based on the color texture compared to the Portland cement concrete of the public sidewalks. It was previously mentioned of the two floor plans. There's slight variations between the two. They're both 2,080 square feet. And so of the 6 lots, there is a floor plan A, and then there's a reverse floor plan. So those will be, the floor plan A will occur on lots 1, 4, and 5. And probably the biggest distinction between the two, as you'll see on the next, is there's a larger pop out in the back of the house, which you'll see at this location here. So this is floor plan B, and there's both a standard B floor plan as well as a reverse B floor plan, and those will occur on lots 2, 3, and 6. Here's a roof plan diagram of so you can see the distinction in the roof lines of Plan A and Plan B. There was some interest in the color, and I wholeheartedly agree. One of the problems with AutoCAD Civil 3D and trying to provide color renderings, your color palette limitations are difficult to match up with material suppliers' colors, but this is the floor plans for house on lots 1, 2, and 3, and you can see their floor plan is standard A, standard B, and B reverse. And the colors are lot 1 is the Mesa Verde stucco from La Habra. Lot 2 is Saddleback. Lot 3 is French Vanilla. I'll go on to lots 4, 5, and 6. Lot 4 will be Plan A reverse, what'll have La Habra's Saddleback stucco. Lot 5 will be a floor plan A reverse also, and it will be French Vanilla stucco. And lot 6 will be a B reverse floor plan, and it'll be Mesa Verde. And yeah, this is the one that sort of comes out as pea soup in AutoCAD. But I'll show you from the material selection palette what the actual color will be more applicable of when I show the materials board. So here are the various rock veneers that'll be used beneath the window lines. In front, there'll be the Country Rubble Coastal Brown and Coronado Honey Ledge Sioux Falls. And then the concrete roof tiles are Saxony 900 Slate Saddleback blend. And then on the La Habra stucco, it's a much more muted green, I think you would agree, as far as the number 2 Mesa Verde, number 1 being the French Vanilla, and number 3 being the Saddleback stucco. In concluding, community outreach prior to COVID back in 2018 before the pre-general plan hearing before the city council. I walked door to door to talk to the adjacent neighbors on Ralston, and I didn't encounter anyone that was opposed to the project. The comments that I got being concerns were that they would be single-family, one-story structures, so as not to obscure the view from their homes of the Santa Susana Mountains. And so again, as you've seen from the product design on the planned development permit, they're all one-story single-family homes. The applicants are local Simi Valley residents. There's 3 families that are together as owners of the property. They actually plan to build their own homes in the project at this time. They're also local small business owners. One family owns Donuts Plus on Erringer Road, and another one of the families owns Royal Bagel Deli on Royal Avenue. And so as part of this project, the applicants, they're reinvesting in their community. And the project is consistent with the Ralston Avenue neighborhood corridor. With that, I thank you in advance for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'll eventually get that. Do any commissioners have any questions of the applicant? Commissioner Hodge, sorry.
Yes, Mr. Hunter, thank you very much. It's a fine presentation. You heard some of the questions that were asked during staff's presentation and immediately after staff's presentation, and I was hoping you could address the question of the thought process between deciding which parcels would be burdened with maintenance of the proposed driveway. What were your thoughts about that? And if you could persuade me that it really should just be parcel 5 and parcel 6?
Yes, I'd be happy to address that, Commissioner. Those are private driveways that directly serve Lot 5 and Lot 6. They're separated from Lots 2 and Lots 3 on either side. The block wall provides separation of aesthetic view from what future owners would be on Lots 2 and 4. So there's really no pride of ownership benefit to Lots 2 and 4 to, in my mind, burden them with having to share in the cost of maintaining that landscaping. My viewpoint is the owners of Lots 5 and 6, they're going to be traveling in and out their driveway up to 4 to 6 times a day. And so it's going to behest them to maintain the visual quality of that landscaping, because it beautifies and improves their quality of life traveling to and from their home every day. And I would expect that's what the future would hold. My understanding from my clients is that 2 of the homes, 5 and 6 in the back, will be owned by 2 of the project applicants' families, and so I'm assured that they're going to take as much pride of ownership in their project and maintaining those areas as much as anyone would. And as was also mentioned, it is a private driveway fire lane. On the final map, it will be recorded on the map showing it as such. The Ventura County Fire Code requires fire lanes to be posted, no parking. And there are city and county codes that allow for the enforcement of those infractions. Most people are familiar with those type of enforcement actions on private commercial property where you have restricted parking areas with curbs painted red and no parking areas near the front of grocery stores. Those are enforced in a similar manner that if someone parked there, left their vehicle, there's systems in place to be able to tow those vehicles and cite them for violation of the applicable city ordinance.
Thank you. The maintenance agreement, for parcels 5 and parcel 6. I mean, I understand that it's the folks who are current owners, and I appreciate all that. But of course, the houses will probably still be there when the folks who are currently living there decide to go somewhere else, or maybe aren't living anywhere. So does the maintenance agreement, does it run with the land such that future owners of 5 and 6 will be bound by the same obligations?
Yes, Commissioner, and I appreciate that concern. There will be deed restrictions that will be recorded on title on each property that will hold each property owner directly responsible for those unique features that are on their property. For example, lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 will have deed restrictions that will require them to properly maintain the stormwater LID features that are on their property and have it inspected and a report submitted to the city annually. That's similar to the system that a lot of people are more familiar with the backflow prevention devices that are on private property, and the water companies require an annual inspection by a certified licensed technician to be able to inspect and file a report on those.
Was at any time, were there any other configurations different than what you've proposed here, with this 2 houses in the back and the fire lane to get there? Were there any other iterations of the footprints for these homes?
In the early stages, we looked at the possibility of providing a local street access to potential future development to the building materials yard to the east, but I think staff as well as myself agreed that due to the differences in land use, that certainly at this time it wouldn't be appropriate to have access to a materials yard through a residential subdivision like this, and future development would most likely be a higher density mixed use that would best be accessed off of Los Angeles Avenue as opposed to having what would be a higher traffic volumes coming through a small moderate density residential neighborhood.
This is kind of a small matter, but at the same time, one of the concerns that I have with flag lots is, of course, that you do have these cars passing within a very close proximity to the windows of people's bedrooms. And the parcel 3, the way I read the drawings, is all of 8 feet from the side of the building to what I suppose would be the brick wall. And because those windows are there to bedrooms, I realize that you're going to have the 6-foot masonry wall. But I was curious, I suspect it's probably because of the location of the underground water quality chamber on parcel 3. Was any consideration given to moving the home a few feet to the south so that there could be more room between the north side and the brick wall, for that there could be some form of landscaping or trees, something like that, that would create a little more sound buffer to the people who live in that and their bedrooms?
Yes, Commissioner, we looked at that, but there's a unique mathematical relationship with being able to provide the varied front yard setbacks. And being that it's on a curved street, we needed to keep the house placement on lot 3 as much to the north as possible to be able to achieve that front yard setback and be able to maintain the rear yard setback given the size of the building plan. But I think from a nuisance standpoint, there's certainly a person would have difficulty being able to see over top of the block wall, which will be 6 foot, to any privacy concerns with the bedrooms. But as far as sound concerns, I think the low speed of a residential driveway, the sound dampening of the masonry block wall, and dual pane windows, I think will provide enough noise reduction to not become a noise nuisance for future occupants of any bedrooms on that lot.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, I kind of went out of order here, but do any members of the public, well, there's actually no member of the public in here. Yeah, are there any members of the public on Zoom? I think we have
I still have a
a
question.
gentleman
though.
on Zoom. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Gray, we're gonna, since we're in the public testimony part, we're gonna continue with the members of the public first. I kind of went out of order.
Then you can come back. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, you'll have your time.
Appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we, sorry, I think we have Mike.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Appreciate you letting me have the chance to be here tonight.
Okay,
Um,
Mike, you have 3 minutes. Go
I'm
ahead
par-
and make your comments, please.
Okay, well, I'm participating tonight to oppose the development, mainly due to the construction noises that'll be created. A couple hundred yards to the west of this proposed development, there's a major construction project that's been ongoing for months, and this neighborhood's had to put up with the noises from that on a daily basis. Also, there were many nights construction was going on. For the last 3 months or so, they've been working 6 days a week, including Labor Day. So we only have 1 day a week without construction noises. And now we're being asked to endure construction noises from yet another project. And I just think you're asking an awful lot of the people from this community to put up with that. In fact, I think you're asking too much. I really wouldn't be too opposed to the project occurring if we could have some time without any construction noises after this project on Industrial Street is completed. And even then, I know we would appreciate not having construction start too early or end too late. No construction on weekends or holidays, things like that. So we're just basically really construction noise weary at this point after just months and months and months and months of having to endure this major construction project on Industrial Street. So, for me, that's the major thing, and just really cannot handle any more construction noises. And it's just gotten to the point where it just seems like Simi Valley is becoming San Fernando Valley West, so to speak. And my wife and I moved out here to get away from that. We've been homeowners for almost 24 years here. We live on Fig Street, about 250 yards northwest of this proposed development. So we'll be able to hear the noises from this proposed development quite clearly from our house. And again, having already endured, I believe, about 8 months of construction from Industrial Street, it's just a little much at this point. And that's the reason I wanted to speak tonight.
Okay, thank you for your time. Appreciate it sincerely. Do we have any other members of the public that wish to speak on this item? No. Okay, hearing none. Are there any comments from staff regarding statements made during the public hearing?
Yes, Commissioner. The project that Mr. Sanders is referring to is the Extra Space project that came before you last year that was approved. And it's active right now in terms of construction. So Mr. Sanders has very nice to provide me an email earlier today and address his concerns that he just spoke of. And staff will be in contact with the developer and see if they could help address his concerns, lighting, noise, that kind of thing, and that they're working within the confines of their permit in terms of hours of operation, in terms of construction, when they start and when they stop at night and on weekends. So staff will review that on his behalf.
Okay. Any other comments from staff regarding any other statements?
I believe that, believe that's it.
Okay. Would the applicant like to respond to any of the comments regarding statements made during the public hearing? Mr. Hunter?
No, I have no need to make any additional statements beyond my presentation. And again, I just thank you in advance for your consideration and approval of the project and the numerous permits that move forward to the city council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no further questions, Commissioner Gray, you'll have your time in a minute. We're going to close the public testimony portion of the hearing. Now we can go to questions from planning commissioners. Commissioner Gray, you're up.
Thank you. I didn't realize that we were out of order, so I do appreciate that. So I've got just a couple of questions because your presentation, I'm really glad that you brought in some examples. But you had shown on, I'm so sorry, I'm going back to that same driveway issue. And it had like two driveways. It said like 617 and 629. And you said it would be similar to this. So the material, according to your specs here, are pavers so that they drain nicely. But the video, the image that you had shown had also an additional drainage in between the two driveways. So I'm just asking for clarification. Is it one driveway or is it going to have two like the image that you showed?
My proposed design will just be
Mr. Hunter, sorry, I've actually closed the public portion, so staff will answer the question. Go ahead, staff.
Well, Commissioner, Chairman Mann, you have the option of opening. I think really you probably cut Commissioner Gray off earlier when she wanted to ask questions of the applicant.
Okay.
And there is that portion of the agenda or the hearing. So it's up to you, of course, but you could open that up for her to ask questions directly of the applicant, which is, I think, what she wants to do.
Commissioner Gray, okay? With that, then we'll
Yes,
go.
I wanted to ask the applicant.
Okay, we'll open up the public portion of the hearing again. Mr. Hunter, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, the photo was more to be used as a general example, not a item by item match for design. I wasn't anticipating having the center infiltration trench. It would be more of a continuous pervious paver driveway surface.
Okay. So then my second question is on the walls. You said that they're going to be like the 6 feet privacy walls up until the side yard. Then you're going to drop it down to the 42-inch to the street. But is it all the way to the street or is it is there a sidewalk? I don't recall.
Yes, one of the project conditions is we'll be building the sidewalk meeting ADA path of travel requirements from the existing sidewalk to the south to connect to the existing sidewalk to the north.
Okay, so it'll drop down to 42 to the sidewalk.
To the back of walk.
Okay, and then one more question. You were referring to, I believe, the property just to the north in the center. I'm looking at the MapQuest too, so sorry if I'm looking up, it's my other monitor. And you were indicating that because that house on Leeds can't drain to Leeds because of the elevation, that's part of that. Is that part of the 10-foot drainage? Is that to help with that? And is that property going to help pay for and maintain that if it's their water drainage into this property?
No, they won't have any responsibility for maintaining any surface landscaping because their easement use is limited to underground utility use for both their house lateral sewer connection, which has already been built, and any future drainage pipes that need to be installed to be able to outlet into the street through the curb face. Certainly if our project is developed before, and if they damage any landscaping as part of their installation of those drainage lines, they'll have to replace the landscaping in kind. But as far as any weekly or monthly maintenance, that would be the responsibility of the owner of Lot 1.
Okay. I think that answers all of my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, before we close the public testimony portion again, any questions from either staff or commissioners?
One thing I wanted to point out is that I actually looked at the website for La Habra stucco, and the Mesa Verde color is definitely not what's shown on that drawing. It's more subdued, it's more,
Not near the
It's-
highlighter green / yellow?
it's not like that. It's actually very much on the tannish with a little bit of tint of green. Nevertheless, that's something that we can look to make sure that it's the right kind.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then we're going to again close the public testimony portion of the hearing. Now we're back to commissioners. Any questions of staff? Okay, commissioners, any comments before we have a reading of the resolution? What are your thoughts?
Chairperson Mann.
Commissioner Rice, go ahead.
First, I just wanted to sympathize with Mr. Sanders too, especially when they first started this project and they kept dropping that thing to break up the concrete. Every time they did that, it felt like an earthquake. And I'm a lot farther from the project than he is. And he's right, that I'm 90% sure that they've been working on that project after when they're supposed to be. So my biggest disappointment with this project is just there's no front porches, because that's a nice street and there's a lot of people that are outside, and that would have been a great thing to put into those houses, especially 1, 2, 3, and 4. I wish that was there, but it's not. I do like the fact that these lots are as big or larger than the lots that are currently on Ralston. I really like the way that there's the drought-tolerant landscaping. I think the homes are a good size for the area. I like the fact that they're single-story homes. On the interior, I like the layout of the kitchen. That's really nice. And I think they're great. I think this is a good project.
Okay. Other commissioners, any comments? Commissioner Gray.
I c- definitely, I'm sorry, the gentleman was Matt, I believe. When construction was taking place, up here, we had peace and quiet for quite some time, and then construction started, and it was a couple of homes, and I can definitely sympathize. And, and our neighbors as well, we're constantly calling our HOA saying that they're working on holidays when they're not supposed to, according to our CCNR. So I can definitely empathize with that, because, our CCNRs had said something about they couldn't start until 9 o'clock on weekends, and they would be up there at 6 o'clock in the morning when people were like, "Are you kidding me?" So hopefully that that won't happen with this project, and that it'll be respectful, and hopefully that the city will also ensure that if somebody complains, that they investigate it timely so that that doesn't happen, because it is really frustrating when you've been living someplace and that happens. I would love to have seen some front porches as well. I do like the comments or the little bit of a comment that was made from the neighborhood council that it would have been nice to have some multi-family. But I do recall, I think this came up last year sometime, or it's very familiar to something that I remember. So I would like to have seen a little bit more density to it, but I think considering that you've got some larger homes to the east and smaller lots to the west, I think it's a nice mix for that community. I am a little concerned if Industrial Street actually goes through, if that creates additional future problems. I'm a little concerned just about the placement of driveways on 3 and 4, people backing out. But I'm sure the city and we'll be able to deal with whatever happens, stoplight or whatever in that section. I think that they're nice size homes. 2,000 square feet is a really nice home for just about any family size. They're not too small, they're not too big. 4 bedrooms makes it so that anybody can work from home and still have a nice large family. So, and it sounds as though it's going to be, at the meantime, 2 or 3 families that in the 5 or the 6 homes. So I'm pleased with it.
Okay. Commissioner Tolson?
Fantastic. Great presentation by this staff and the applicant. I like the fact that they're single story, all of them. I like the presentation about addressing the driveway going back to 5 and 6 and how the parking issues and the deed restrictions, I think that's going to maintain the problems that potentially could be there, especially with the applicant taking those 2 lots. I think it's perfect for the area in terms of single-family homes on the west and on the north side, so I'm highly in favor of this project.
Commissioner Hodge?
Yeah, speaking first to the issue of the zoning, it seems patently obvious to me that this is something that I can support. The property is consistent with the zoning, rather, is consistent with the zoning immediately across the street. And essentially, this is really the zoning that should be servicing this particular parcel, given the street access. You take a look at the zoning that's there, and oh boy, I mean, get your Yahtzee dice out, because I mean, this thing is an unusual concoction and conglomeration of zones. And it's nice that this is going to fit appropriately with the residential moderate, right, zoning that is to the north, to the east, to the west rather. I'm a little concerned about the property to the east, the commercial whatever that is, and I'm glad that at least for now, since it doesn't appear that property is going to change much soon, and it looks very inconsistent with. Sure, it'd be nice to have a buffer between that property and these single-family homes, but there is enough land on the east side of lots 5 and 6 for there to be built trees, those kinds of things that would be able to provide some buffer between those 2 uses. Who knows what ultimately will be the use for that property to the east, but as far as the zoning for this one, it seems very obvious that this should be residential moderate, and I can support the zone change. As far as the rest of it goes, I'm persuaded by Mr. Hunter about the efficacy of who takes the maintenance responsibilities for the property. I really didn't think I would support that, but in truth, after hearing him talk about it and how it went and describing how the fence goes, et cetera, it seems like the better opportunity, and possibly making 2 people or 2 homes be responsible for it versus 4 actually could have the opportunity for less schism between landowners and rather than more. So I'm persuaded by Mr. Hunter on that point. The construction noise, I agree with that, and I was thinking about that property on Industrial Street, and there was so much demolition that had to be done. And I assume that there's a condition regarding the hours of construction.
Yes, well, we are looking into that with that email we're going to send out, and we're going to contact Extra Space.
I'm talking about for the construction of this project.
Well, either project, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. That's the construction hours in the city.
Okay. Well, I'm going to guess that the gentleman who spoke is going to cringe a little on that. But I mean, the truth of it is that this is an infill project. Somebody owns the land, and as much as this is going to be an opportunity for 6 families to live in a nice home, and we're just going to have to crack some eggs here a little bit to make the omelet, and I think that he can understand that. I've never heard that argument be made. Don't approve the project because it's noisy. So that's the first one for me. And I realize it's a real problem for him because of that other project and how those folks might have been pushing the envelope a little bit. So I can support the zone change. I think it makes a great deal of sense. The project, I think barely provides the sort of 360 design elements that we require. It's close, but at the same time, Mediterranean construction isn't necessarily inclusive of all kinds of different forms of decoration or those kinds of things that are found in a lot of other kinds of homes. It's more of a de minimis or minimalist type design, so I can support that. One of the nice things about there being 4 and 2 in the back is it provides some off-street parking rather, which is good because you got two car garages, which is great, and that's what the code requires. But I think we all appreciate the reality is that that doesn't really suffice sometimes when people have guests or people sometimes need their garage temporarily, hopefully, for other purposes other than their vehicles. And by not putting all 6 units and squeezing 6 driveways onto Ralston, having only 4 provides an opportunity for some off-street parking as well, which will limit the burden on the other homeowners on the same street. So I agree with some of the comments by the other commissioners regarding the size of the lots being consistent with the others. So I can support each of the elements of the project and do support the project.
Okay, nothing else? Then I'll go ahead. General plan amendment makes sense. The zoning change makes sense. Tentative tract map makes sense. Planned development permit makes sense. Obviously, I've already spoken about the 2 items that one I have concern of the wood, but I'll let staff work on that one. The Mesa Verde, not a big green fan, but again, staff can work on that. Thanks for all those that participated tonight and for all those that helped bring this project to us. It's nice to see that a local group of family members got together and want to better the area. The project seems to make sense, meets the guidelines of the city. I do have sympathy for those residents that are on that street that are putting up with the noise of the other project. But unfortunately, time moves on and any piece of land will eventually be built on and developed. I see no problem with the fire lane. I think that Mr. Hunter did a great job on defining who's going to maintain that. And that's certainly something the city and the fire department can work on. So I think overall it is a good project for the area. With that said, may I please have a reading of the resolution?
Resolution number SVPC 13-2021. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Simi Valley recommending to the City Council approval of GPA 106, ZS748, TT6031, and PDS 1071 to construct 6 single-family dwelling units located on the east side of Ralston Avenue, 300 feet north of East Los Angeles Avenue, and adoption of the project's mitigated negative declaration and monitoring plan.
The chair will now entertain a motion.
I move to adopt a resolution recommending approval of GPA-106/Z-S-748/TT6031 PD-S-1071 and adoption of the project's mitigated negative declaration and monitoring plan.
Motion is made by Vice Chair Tolson. May I have a second?
Second.
I will second if he puts a slash after the 31 in the PD.
That's okay. Commissioner Hodge beat you to the second. Commissioner Hodge.
Oh, shoot.
But it's not as easy to say all that, is it? Jeez, missing dashes and slashes. Okay, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Tolson, a second by Commissioner Hodge. Call for the vote, please.
Commissioner Gray,
I approve. Yay.
I may forget to hit my button. Got it. Better? Does it say, is it blue now? Okay.
Motion passes unanimously.
The appeal period for Z-S-748 and PD-7-1071 is 14 calendar days. The appeal period for TT-6031 is 10 calendar days. The appeal period for GPA-106 is 5 calendar days. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Thank you, staff. Great job tonight. Okay, so we need to circle back because evidently there was an error on Zoom regarding public statements. So we're going to go back to public statements. And I think that is Matt still with us? Matt, are you there?
Hi, yes, good evening, and I'm here. I appreciate the accommodation, and may I go ahead?
Our sincere apologies for missing you the first time through. Yeah, please go ahead and state whatever you want to state, and you have 3 minutes.
I understand. And I'm here tonight. I'm just addressing the commission because at a meeting of the commission almost 2 years ago on January 22nd of 2020, I spoke about the problem of block visibility on sidewalks and the general public nuisance created by large RVs that kind of hang out all the way to the public rights of way and the sidewalk. At that meeting, I shared a photo of what I find myself now living with the commissioners who once they had a chance to see it, they had a thorough and a very engaging discussion that motivated them to actually create a subcommittee to look at the problem. For reasons that I don't know, nor really understand, they made a recommendation to the city council which did not address safety or liability issues at the issues that we talked about at the January 2020 meeting. So the way it now stands, as far as the city goes, or city council, we will be waiting until August of 2022 before it will be addressed again with regard to pedestrian safety, line of sight, quality of life, setback, enforcement, encroachment, aesthetics, and quality of life issues. And I'm sure there are others. So there's also an issue with home values, I think. There's a correlation there. Recently, a home on my street sold for far less than market. And that kind of, made me feel crummy because I'm not going to move, but, it's still an issue. So last spring, I contacted of 2020, I contacted the commissioners who originally assembled the RV subcommittee by email 3 times, actually, and I received no reply. I don't think it's an obligation to reply, but I still would have liked to have sort of understood why they decided that it didn't fit or it wasn't worthy of attention. I really don't understand that because there is a potential for bad things. It's my RV neighbor, by the way, informed me that he thinks that if I can't see through his RV or his motorhome, I shouldn't be driving. So I don't know how we address that. I don't know. During the early part of the pandemic, and this is related to my own situation at my own home, and I think you guys have all seen my famous photograph that I took standing on the sidewalk in front of my house, the public sidewalk looking to the south. There's just no visibility. It's completely blocked. But during the pandemic, I had to rely solely on deliveries. And honestly, 2 different times, and maybe more, but 2 that I know of, Instacart or Dash drivers had difficulty backing out of my driveway. It's kind of dicey because people drive really fast, admittedly, even myself sometimes, and I shouldn't be. But it's a real problem. The road curves, you don't see behind it, and it puts the city at risk of a potential real financial liability as well as that, and it puts people at risk of possible injury. I'm not sure what, if anything, the commission can do at this late date, since it has given the recommendations to leave regulations as it is to the city council. But I called tonight I'm here tonight to recommend, so I can go on record, that the change of heart from the original conversation in the January 2020 meeting is sort of, it troubles me. The city has codes and regulations about setbacks, TSSA, along with a need to preserve line of sight, and this can't be ignored. Anybody wants to, I'm going to recommend that you watch the January 2020 meeting. The RV conversation begins right at the 3-hour mark. Thank you for listening to me, and have a great evening.
Matt, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your time, sir. Okay, moving on, back on schedule. Oral communications and reports. Staff.
Yes, Chairman, yes, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. As you may have heard, on November 8th, the City Council did consider the rear yard parking amendments, which came to the Planning Commission around last September of 2020, and they did approve the rear yard parking amendments. And as another action, they wanted to look at additional parking considerations at a later date. So that parking amendment was approved. Also, I believe we provided to you a tentative Planning Commission agenda. We anticipate that the December 8th Planning Commission meeting will be canceled, and we are anticipating a special Planning Commission meeting of December 15th in light of pressing issues regarding SB 9, and that the December 22nd Planning Commission meeting date poses some staffing issues and some other issues because of the holiday season. So you will be notified officially when those meetings come out, and if there's any concerns, let me know.
Any planning commissioners have any comments? Mobile Home Rent Mediation Board.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Chair.
Tree Advisory Board.
Just to follow up, at the last tree advisory board meeting we had here at the Planning Commission level, that item was continued to City Council also on November 8th, and that request was subsequently denied as well at the City Council level.
That was the tree trimming one, or the
That was
tree
the-
removal?
That was the
Tree
project on Texas Avenue, the remove request.
Okay, nothing else? This concludes the meeting of November 17th. The next scheduled meeting is December 15th. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, one and all.